Hello, I'm Jim Simpson, and for the next few minutes we're going to be telling you all about ESPN, its concept, its physical plant, and what it can mean for you. ESPN was conceived as a total sports cable network. We cover sports, all kinds of sports, and because we have chosen to specialize, we're going to be the best source of sports information and events anywhere on your television dial. The development of satellite communication is the major reason why ESPN has grown from a futuristic programming concept into a broadcasting reality, a reality which can reach into millions of homes across the country as SATCOM-1 orbits the Earth 23,000 miles above us. In fact, we'll be increasing our broadcasting capacity in the not-too-distant future when RCA launches SATCOM-3. We have already acquired rights to a piece of the new bird when it goes into service. We have come a long way since we first went on the air back on September the 7th, and in 90 days we have telecast more than 1,200 hours of sports programming. 1,200 hours. To give you an idea, the three networks together put on about 1,400 hours of sports programming during the course of an entire year. And also we have moved from rented mobile trucks out in back of our studios here in Bristol, Connecticut, into a modern broadcast facility absolutely second to none. Obviously, we are quite proud of our place here in Bristol and of the people who run our plant. And we'd like you to meet some of those people on, unfortunately, what must be a rather whirlwind tour of the place here we call home. I often wonder what a motorist thinks when he drives down Middle Street here in Bristol, Connecticut for the first time and sees what we call our uplink and our downlink. Looks like Star Trek or Star Wars, doesn't it? Basically, the uplink sends the picture up, the downlink brings it back. That's how we get the pictures in, and that's how we send the pictures out. But there's a lot more to it that goes on inside the building. Let's take a look in there. Every time I come through that door, I wonder how many hours a day. Well, I know how many hours a day. 24 hours a day. A lot of people come through that door into this, the technical center. As we told you, a lot of our programming is live, but because of time limitations, a lot of our programming has to be on tape. That means we've got to have a lot of tape machines, a lot of videotape. We've got lots of both. Look, I'd like to have the coffee concession for this room, the tape room. This is manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Over there we have the new standard for the television tape industry. That is the 1-inch tape. On the far wall we've got our cassettes, much like you have at home, and behind us the standard of years almost gone by, that is the 2-inch machine. But they tell me that for ESPN, for videotape stock alone, the budget for a single year is more than $1 million. So the heck with that coffee concession. I'd like to be the videotape salesman. Next stop, Master Control. About 25 years ago, give or take a year or two, I was working at a brand new television station in the Washington area, and for our dedication, we were very fortunate. We had President Dwight David Eisenhower there. He took one look at the Master Control Room and said, "It reminds me of a war room." And indeed it does. Telephones to talent, to videotape, to studio control, microphones that can reach the same. Behind us, we have incoming tape, incoming feeds, the programs that are going out on the air. Master Control is responsible for putting our programs on the air, putting it on that satellite, and sending it out of here. Also in the same room, we have two kinds of electronic graphics. They're called the Chiron and the Vidifont. They're the things that spell out the names across the bottom of the picture so you know who the players are, or get a visual reaction of what the score is. Now remember, this is what puts the shows out on the air. This is not what produces the show. Studio control may look just the same to you as Master Control, but the purpose is much different. Master Control puts the show out on the satellite, out on the air. In the studio control, where you have the director, the producer, the technician, the audio man back there, this is where we put the shows together. We roll the film. We can preview what's on each camera. And this is the place also where we can have a lot of fun with those special things that they love to play with called special effects. Chet Simmons, the president of ESPN, had a statement before we went on the air. He said, "We are in the business of news." He said, "The only difference is that all of our news is sports news. And so we approach it the same way as any network would approach a news story. We approach our sports stories. We have here reporters, our commentators working here, our producers come in to figure out what it is they want to do on the air. We have copy people here to run the fresh and the hot copy right down to the studio. We run it just like a newsroom that you'd find anywhere in the country. Only we at ESPN deal only in sports." Well, this is it. This is our main studio. I've been in television for a long while, and a lot of exciting things happen in the studio, but I've always thought the studios really don't look that exciting, do they? Cameras sitting around, cables all over the floor. We have ladders in the background to which they go up and reach the lights. But it is here, as you can see behind me, we originate our Sports Center. That's our daily coverage of all the things that are going on in the world of sports around the world. And we think it is an excellent show. You've already heard from our senior announcer, George Grant, who teams on this show with Lee Leonard. And there's Bob Waller and Bob Lee. They are very good. Tom Mees and Greg Wyatt and Chris Berman. This is where they work, in the main studio here at ESPN. On weekends, ESPN brings you round-the-clock sports coverage. And during the rest of the week, we average about 12 hours a day of programming. Now, eventually, we'll be broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, as we've said, the range and the scope of this programming is the most ambitious ever attempted. But George Grant, our senior announcer for Sports Center, can tell you more about that.
We've been breaking new ground hour by hour, day by day, week by week, always bringing you the very best in sports.
The top team in the nation, the Crimson Tide of Alabama, will be at Baton Rouge, Louisiana this week for a tough game against the LSU Tigers. And you'll be there, too. Jim Simpson and Irv Brown follow all of the action for you here on ESPN.
Where else on the television dial can you find up to 5 NCAA college football games every fall weekend? For the first time ever, college hockey is coming front and center with over 50 NCAA Division I events, and it covers over 6 months of competition. The ESPN sports team is following the Winter Olympics all the way down the trail to the Winter Games in 1980. We're bringing you exclusive coverage of the United States Olympic hockey team. How about professional bowling, the PBA Tour? Well, for the first time ever, ESPN brought the fall tour to television.
Everything we're seeing.
How does over 150 college basketball games sound? No one has ever attempted anything like that, but ESPN is doing it.
International basketball exclusively here on ESPN. The tall and talented Soviet national team continues a U.S. tour with a visit to Provo, Utah. ESPN cameras will be there as the Soviets take on the Cougars of Brigham Young University. Fred White handles play-by-play action, Billy Packer the analyst. The Soviets and BYU Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific time, here on ESPN.
You have seen how we bring our sporting events into the homes of our viewers from our home here in Bristol, Connecticut. But how do we produce the broadcasts? Well, the answer is remote trucks. And this is a model of one of 3 such units that we will be using to cover sports across the country. Now, basically, it is a self-contained television station, complete with cameras, a video switcher, an audio console, plus all the other ingredients needed to either put it on live or to send it back here for a playback at a later date. Well, there you have a brief look at what we here at ESPN are all about. It's an ambitious undertaking, but we're making it work. And I'm sure that if you've seen any of our coverage over these last several weeks, you know that ESPN is committed to quality. And as we continue to grow, we know that our affiliate family will grow with us. And we think that the total sports cable format is a formula that simply cannot miss. And we'd like you to come along for the ride and reap the benefits too.